Well, welcome back, everyone. This is a great subject, and I know it's of interest to a lot of our viewers. Over the course of the year, here at Look Media, we've been involved in a lot of education programs, and it came to my attention that over the summer, there's something called summer learning loss. And if you think about it, that makes a lot of sense. During the school year, children are disciplined to go to class and learn certain skills. And what happens in the summer? Well, they could fall off the scale and they could maybe just spend the summer not doing anything and lose valuable momentum. So lo and behold, we found an expert in the field. Patrick McNamara is the executive director of the Sylvan Learning Center. So welcome, Patrick.
Thank you.
Very nice to have you here.
Nice to be here.
For those of you who do not know about the Sylvan Learning Center, it's really you're going to describe it.
Okay.
I'll let you do it.
Sylvan Learning Center is an educational service.
Yes.
We provide educational tutoring personalized in reading, writing, math, SAT and SAT prep, ACT prep, and then study skills. And we do it from pre-K to 12th grade.
Yes, gotcha. Now, we contacted you because of this summer learning loss issue. Talk to me a bit about this.
We've been talking to a lot of people about it. Partly, I think letting parents know that this is something they can participate in. You know, education happens in the school, but it happens at home as well.
Yes.
And so it's very important that parents understand that during the summer, it's a summer break, and we're not saying have school at home, but you really can do things at home to help minimize that summer learning loss you were talking about.
Right.
One of the things you can do is, especially with younger kids, those kids who have just begun to learn to read, the kids who are just learning about numbers, you know, and they really started to get it in school. And then if nothing happens in the summer, they just lose it. It hasn't been embedded the way it might have been for a high schooler.
Well, you know what we hear from, and we were involved in a couple of very interesting programs over this past school year, that the teachers in a lot of ways have to spend a month or up to the first 2 months sort of reintegrating the children back again. And you know, there's one very important point here that all of us who are parents and grandparents face is that every child develops at their own pace.
They do.
So, you know, you're in a classroom, that's a wonderful environment, the teachers do a wonderful job, that's a group setting. Now, you made a point before we went on air to talk to me about that really respecting the nature of each child being an individual.
Right. All of our plans for our students are personalized. That is really one of the things Sylvan really values and understands, that kids who come to us, they have their own personal needs. So, for example, a kid comes to us at the beginning of the summer because the parent said, you know, they really didn't perform well. The teacher said at the end that they might need remedial reading help, you know, next year. So they'll come to us, we'll do an assessment to say, okay, well, where are they today? And we'll see where they are, and then we develop a program for them that says, okay, here's where you are, here's the skills you know, here's the skills you don't know, and we're going to teach you the ones you don't know. We're going to do that thing that the teacher just doesn't have time. The teacher would love to do personal instruction for all of her students. She doesn't have time for that. And we're going to be able to do that, and we're going to be able to move at that student's pace. Helping a student work individually, you know, has another side to it, which is in class when students aren't succeeding, they know it, and their confidence starts to drop. And if a kid doesn't believe that they can do this, that they're good at school, then chances are pretty good they're not going to be able to do it because they're not going to try. So when we're working with them, we're really working on building up that confidence. And so since we're working it personalized, you know, they don't worry about asking the question because, well, what are my friends going to think? They're going to think I'm dumb. You know, they find out very quickly with our teachers that there's no one else at their table who is working on their program. So they're not being compared to anybody. And they then can ask that question. They get comfortable asking questions. Our program is designed so we're teaching multiple skills an hour. They're also designed, the skills are tiny bite size so that they're succeeding, they're mastering skills on a regular basis.
You know, it sounds to me, you know, and let's face it, kids, especially in those years, maybe kindergarten through grade school, middle school, whatever, very impressionable years, you know, it's very competitive, a lot of peer pressure. So the idea that you could actually encourage a child to ask questions is actually a big step in developing their esteem and their confidence. Now, as a professional, someone who deals with this all the time, Patrick, it's summertime. Let's just talk about some steps that a parent could take this summer while their child is on vacation to sort of really do what you're saying?
Okay. So the first step is recognize it's something you're going to do.
Yes, right, sure.
You know, and that and it isn't going to be a chore. The point of when we're talking about working at home, you're trying to find some way to reinforce what happened in school, but in a way that the students can embrace. So you go to the library and you find books that the students want to read. You know, age appropriate. And if you don't want to go to the library, or your library and you're still sort of lost, you know, online there are just tons of different websites that will give you suggestions. So like if your student enjoyed one book, you know, you can go online and say, my child liked this book, what other books might they like? And you know, there are a number of different sites that will actually suggest, well, these other series work. So that's one thing you do, is just recognizing what it is. Reading, any kind of reading is better than no reading. So that's sort of one thing. Get them to read, however you do that. Now, one of the other ways you might want to do it is, it's nice if they see mom and dad reading. You know, it's modeling. They realize, like, oh, reading is not something you just do in school. Reading is something you do because you enjoy it. You know, and they just start to see reading as part of a lifelong activity.
Well, you know what, when you talk about that, I mean, education is really life experience. And you know, that's a form of learning. You said something to me interesting that caught my attention before we went on air. It's summertime, you're going on vacation. Right. You know, you might be visiting Gettysburg. You might be visiting the historic sites in Warren County. You know, encourage your child to do a couple of things.
Right.
You mentioned get them to read about the area that they're going into. Get them to help you budget the vacation so they can heighten their math skills. You see what's happening here is that you're not making them eat their spinach.
Right.
You're actually saying, hey, let's sit down together
and
try to figure this out.
Look at, you know, Saratoga Battlefield's right here, right?
That's right? It's
a great place. It's like Gettysburg. It's a smaller version of Gettysburg in a way. You know, and it makes history come alive to them because now they're reading a book, they can see like, okay, this is what's going to happen. And then they go to the battlefield and they can maybe be the tour guide.
Yes,
they can explain, saying, you know, if there's multiple kids saying, okay, everybody's, you know, at the battlefield they have various sites. And so you can say, okay, at this site you're going to explain what's happening. And it's that kind of thing that, you know, they're on websites, so they're seeing little research, learning how to do that. They're reading, because they have to read up on it. They're preparing something, so maybe they've written some notes down. You know, there's a whole variety of things they've just done that they see as just an activity. You know, and
meantime, in the meantime, they're learning, right?
It's like that the cooking, you know, where they sneak in the vegetables by pureeing it.
Yes, right. Oh, they did?
Yeah.
You mean I was duped? I can't believe it. Hey, and this, the third part of this, of course, is then as we get closer to the fall, start to plan. Set some goals up.
Set some
for
goals.
that child.
Just start talking about school again. To say, okay, so what's this year going to be like?
Yes.
So one example I often give is 8th graders, people have graduated, so they're going into 9th grade. High school's very different, you know, and now the grades count. You know, talk to your student about, it's 9th grade, but talk about college and say, okay, the colleges start looking at freshman grades. And I know my own nephew, when he was going to go, he wanted to go to Michigan, and the family went to Michigan. Michigan's a very competitive school. His parents actually sat down, they went to the Michigan website and said, okay, these are the grades that Michigan expects. And when he saw those grades and they were very high, he's like, oh, well, I want to go to Michigan, so I need those grades.
Well, that's nice because then he's got something to shoot for.
Exactly.
You know, just to cycle back before we close, you know, education and learning doesn't end at the end of the school year. That this is something that you should have as part of just your lifestyle at home. Constantly, throughout the summer and whatever. Well, Patrick, thank you very much for coming in. You're a pleasure to talk to, and you're a real expert in this field. And this is the Sylvan Learning Center. I think the closest one to us is Clifton Park.
That's right.
Yes,
That's right.
it is. Yep. But thank you very much for coming in. Have a great summer.
Thank you, you too.
And don't forget to read.
All right.
Okay. To see this interview again, you can head to our website, looktvonline.com.